Hey, what's good, lads? Today we're going to be breaking down and meticulously predicting UFC 317. I'm going to be doing a full card breakdown of all the fights that matter, so we're going to be skipping like two or something, mate. Yeah, this is going to be 100% accurate, as you all know. This card in general, it is better than what we've recently been getting as UFC fans. I'd say on paper it's a pretty decent 6.5, but yeah, let's get straight into it, guys. Starting off, mate, I'm not gonna lie, dude. Ain't nobody give a fuck about this shit. Yeah, I'm not gonna make a prediction for this because I don't know either one of these fighters. Christopher Uwit and Jackson McVeigh. Yeah, ain't nobody. Yeah, here at the laboratory we do not study fights where both people don't have faces. So yeah, let's move on. Diniz versus Alvin Hines. I'm gonna be going with Diniz in this fight. I don't know a single thing about Alvin Hines, but Diniz is actually pretty decent. I mean, obviously he did get fraud checked by Marcin Tybura, but to be honest, that's not embarrassing, I'd say. I mean, Marcin Tybura is like the ultimate just gatekeeper. He's better than Neil Magny. I'd say he's probably pound for pound one of the best in the UFC. And Diniz, he has a decent kickboxing background. I think he's probably going to end up ranked at some point in this division. Not an accomplishment at all, but yeah, there is a slight concern that Alvin Hines may be on roids coming from outside the UFC. That is a small concern, but overall the guy just looks like just a blob. And I think his record's pretty padded as well. As far as I think I checked it out the other day, it's not great. But let's move on, guys. Niko Price versus Jacoby Smith. With this fight, I'm going to be going with Niko Price. Right, guys. Yeah, I think he's just gonna pop out and show him that, like, you see him on Embedded with his family. I think that's just gonna give him that extra drive to really go out there and just show him, yeah, Jacoby Smith is pretty clearly gonna get this win. He is like one of the most highly touted prospects in the MMA community for this welterweight division, as far as I'm concerned. Hasn't really been tested. I'm pretty sure he knocked out, Preston Parsons. Decent win, but yeah, he's relatively unproven. But overall, he just has the quick twitch muscle fibers, and Niko Price does not. Niko Price is a guy you can usually pretty easily bet against. I mean, I literally picked Demba Garimbo to beat this guy, and he managed to do it. So I have faith that Jacoby Smith can do the same. Moving on, Terrence McKinney versus Vyacheslav Borshev. To be honest, this is just 50-50, dude. These guys are be killed fighters. I'm going to go with Terrence McKinney. He has the genetic advantage, I'd say. And I mean, he had Drew Dober in some danger, so that's like the one thing that's playing through my mind right now. I'm just gonna pick Terrence McKinney to get it done, dude. But yeah, I'm not gonna put my prediction right on the line for this one, be real. Yeah, guys. At the MMA lab over here, we don't actually predict fights of these sorts, unless they're for the belt. But yeah, these odds are a bit fucked in my opinion. Maybe you can get some money based off that, but I'm not gonna make a prediction on this. But yeah, just looking at it, I'd probably go Tracy Cortez. I mean, she's just beating high level people. I mean, what was it, Jasmine Jasudavicius? I'm pretty sure, or Jillian Roberts, one of those two. She beat them, and that was a pretty good win. So, and I don't think Viviane Araujo has done something like that. So yeah, Moving on, Hyder Amil versus Jose Miguel Delgado. Listen, I see a lot of MMA prediction channels going with Jose Delgado in this matchup, and I do understand why. He does look to be the cleaner fighter, just overall better technique and all that. But Hyder Amil has just faced better competition, in my opinion. And yeah, you can argue that Delgado is the best fighter that Amil would have fought. But I think William Gomez is alright, dude. And like, even if it was an arguable robbery, the fact that this guy just marauded the entire time across the 3 rounds and was just able to do that, I think he'll probably just be able to do that again, dude. And if you actually look at Delgado's record, he's never actually gone the full 3 rounds, let alone in a UFC setting, right? I'm pretty sure I looked at even his regional career. They've all been just round 1 and 2 finishes. Even the only one that went to round 3 was an early round 3 finish. This is also relatively short notice, so I assume that he's not going to be properly conditioned for this. Yeah, and overall just technique. Technique doesn't matter too much in MMA, dude. I'm not going to lie. And it's also really easy to look like you have good technique in the Contender Series, right? But when you're facing a William Gomez, right, it's not going to show as much. So yeah, I think I'm just going to go with Hyder Amil based on UFC experience and just being a marauder, which everyone seems to call him. But yeah, next up, Hermannson versus Gregory Rodriguez. Actually pretty close odds, I'd say, to be honest, because I'm going to go with Gregory Rodriguez, guys. There's obviously the whole storyline with Hermannson and Joe Pyfer, the fact that he was able to fraud check him fucking a decade ago. I mean, it's been so long since Hermannson was out the cage. But yeah, dude, I just think Gregory Rodriguez is just better on the feet than Joe Pyfer in general. I do think Joe Pyfer is overrated as a fighter himself, but as a striker, dude, Joe Pyfer really is just an overhand merchant. And Gregory Rodriguez can mix it up. You know, he was able to put a finishing sequence on Jared Cannonier that probably would have finished anyone else who has worse survival instincts. And yeah, dude, I think he's just going to put it on Hermannson. We could see a more patient Gregory Rodriguez due to that Cannonier fight. But even so, dude, if we do see a more patient Gregory Rodriguez, it's probably going to be a more grappling heavy one. And I think he could honestly get it done that way as well, dude. I think either way, Gregory Rodriguez, heavy striking attacks or grappling focus, I think he can get this done either way. Hermannson has been out for ages. He's like 37 or some shit. Gregory Rodriguez is an active fighter. He fought UFC 3 or 4. He fought against Cannonier. I'm pretty sure there may have been something in the middle. Like, Hermannson hasn't fought for like 2 years, dude. I'm not going to put faith in him. This is also 3 rounds. If the Joe Pyfer fight against Hermannson was 3 rounds, Joe Pyfer would have won it as well. Yeah, dude. If this was a 5-round, maybe I would pick against him, but yeah, I just have to go with Gregory Rodriguez here, dude. And I'm going to actually pick him by lock as well. But yeah, moving on. Payton Talbott versus Felipe Lima. Now, in the thumbnail, I did put that Payton Talbott has an underrated chance in this fight. And I do, but that's purely on the feet. And that's purely if Felipe Lima just doesn't have a brain on fight night and he just decides to strike with Payton Talbott. Because I do believe if he were to just strike with Payton Talbott probably would just win. I don't know if he'd knock him out necessarily. I think it's a bit closer than that, but I know Payton Talbott would win in a pure striking fight. So Felipe Lima, as long as he just uses his brain in this matchup and just mixes in takedowns at all, I think he should just be able to get this done, dude. And I could honestly see an easy sub round 1 or round 2, to be honest. yeah, I think Felipe Lima, he's pretty decent on the feet. That Miles John performance, obviously, people are going to harp on about how close that was. But, I don't know, dude. It's a lot easier to just have a fight be close than to pull ahead, right? When you're already ahead in the fight. So, yeah, I think Felipe Lima is quite underrated in all avenues of MMA. He is also a highly touted prospect. And I just trust he's going to mix in the takedowns, dude. Payton Talbott was getting taken down at will by Raoni Barcelos, especially later on in that fight. It was just not a good look. I mean, yeah, Felipe Lima has a brain at all. He should just be able to win on the grappling and may even make it look kind of easy on the feet, to be honest. But yeah, we're moving on to Renato Moicano versus Beneil Dariush. I think the narrative has changed quite a bit on this fight. This was originally scheduled for UFC 311. And I think Renato Moicano probably was a pretty heavy favorite going into that purely from momentum. I mean, obviously Dariush has probably lost the most aura out of anyone within 2 fights at all. Getting brutally knocked out by Arman Saryukian is not a good look, even though I think he's underrated. And Moicano, he was coming off an incredibly impressive win against Benoit. Just completely destroyed him in that fight. And honestly, dude, I think I'm still going to go with Renato Moicano to win this fight. I see a lot of people picking Dariush based on how good he's looked in the performances before those 2 losses, namely with Mateusz Gamrot, where he just displayed insane takedown defense against a guy who realistically is a better just offensive grappler or just offensive wrestler than Moicano, right? If Moicano can take this to the ground, I think he easily could secure a round of just dominant ground and pound. He is one of the better fighters with ground and pound in the UFC, in my opinion. So yeah, I think if he were to take down Dariush, it would get ugly pretty quickly. But it's whether or not he can do that. And I don't know, dude. I think there's a good chance we don't see a takedown from Moicano in this fight. But even so, dude, I think he could literally just piece him up on the feet. Like, I know Moicano doesn't have the best striking. This was namely shown in his performance against Benoit, specifically in the second round, where he already had him pretty much out of there, but he just didn't look like a dangerous guy on the feet. Let's be real. And yeah, I think it's pretty clear that his striking has declined from his prime days when he was fighting like Aldo and Ortega. But, dude, with Dariush, man, like, Arman Saryukian can put together a finishing sequence on the feet. So all Moicano really needs to do is just sneak an elbow in there, or just a knee or some shit, bro. Like, I don't see a world where Moicano can't just put together a finishing sequence. If he's smart at all, he'll just be more aggressive in this fight than Dariush. Dariush is going to be incredibly tentative, you'd have to imagine. Obviously with those 2 losses. And I just see him just wandering around the streets not knowing what to do with himself and embedded, dude. And, like, yeah, this guy's just an old man. Also, Moicano's training out of ATT with guys like Gamrot, like Dawson, like Poirier, dude. Whereas Dariush, dude, he's training with fucking Giga Chikadze, who just lost to DEI, David Onama. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Moicano, despite how good Dariush has looked in previous fights. Next up, Joshua Van versus Brandon Royval. Odds pretty close here. Royval is a slight favorite. I'm going to be going with Joshua Van, dude. I think, honestly, I've not been the biggest supporter of this Joshua Van train, to be honest. I've been a bit reluctant to fully join it, purely because I think if you get like someone who's just able to just stand their ground and just throw back when Joshua Van enters boxing combinations, like, they could just straight up chin him because he is so small for the weight class, and because he just leaves himself open with how much volume he puts out there. But I think in this matchup, it doesn't matter because Royval, in my opinion, is quite overrated, dude. And where do I get this from? I get this from his Tyra performance. Because on the feet, in that matchup against Tyra, it was honestly pretty close, dude. Embarrassingly close. Like, Tetsuro Tyra does not have good striking at all, in my opinion. Yeah, it's just night and day difference between him and Joshua Van. Obviously, takedown threat, I get it, but I don't think it should be looking that close on the feet with Tetsuro Tyra. I was literally watching that fight. It finished, and I thought they may have honestly robbed Royval, to be honest. That's how I was thinking. So, yeah, dude, I think Joshua Van, this fight favors him with it being 3 rounds as well. He just has more output. Royval could sneak in some knees and some elbows or something, dude, but yeah, I don't see him taking down Joshua Van. I don't see him piecing him up at range either. I think Van's just overall bobbing and weaving is going to work here against a Royval. Yeah, dude, I just have faith. I'm honestly not too confident that Joshua Van will become champion, but I am confident that Royval is overrated in this division. And Van should be able to get this done. I don't think he'll finish him. This is flyweight. I think this is probably going to be a 29-28 decision where Van potentially loses the first round, but clearly wins the next 2. So yeah, let's move on, dude. So I'm going to be picking Kai Kara-France to get this fight done against Pantoja, guys. Jesus Christ, these fucking odds, man. And you ask me how I predict this to happen. He's just Maori, bro. You know what I mean? Like, nah. Kai Kara-France, in my opinion, is an incredibly bad matchup for Pantoja, and I think a lot of people actually understand this. But they just kind of have confidence that Pantoja is able to get these fights done. But dude, honestly, I think Pantoja's been incredibly overrated for the last year, dude. Like, this guy's just a wet blanket, man. Like, yes, this guy has wars on the feet with guys like Moreno and Royval and Kai Sakura, but the way he wins these fights is by control time, dude. Like, this guy literally he's not really a submission artist. Well, he submitted Kai Sakura coming from Ryzen, and he submitted Royval ages ago, and Alex Perez, I guess. But yeah, this guy literally just wins via control time. Kai Kara-France is not going to be shooting stupid takedowns in the 5th like Erceg did, which literally cost Erceg the fight. Kai Kara-France has really good takedown defense. He showed that in the fight against Askarov. Kai Kara-France has 5-round cardio. We saw that in the Amir Albazi fight where he won the 4th and the 5th round pretty clearly. And he also won the 1st, making that fight a robbery. And yeah, dude, Kai Kara-France, I do believe this fight could be closer on the feet than a lot of people expect. But dude, Pantoja was getting pieced up pretty badly on the feet by Steve Erceg. He loses on the feet against Royval and Moreno. The way he wins those fights is via control time. It just is. I don't think he can secure enough control time against Kai Kara-France, dude. Kai Kara-France has the cardio to be in there. I actually don't. I think a lot of people have the mindset that if you're picking Kai Kara-France, you're picking him to just get a nasty KO. And I honestly don't think that'll happen either, to be honest. This is flyweight, so that obviously that is going to loom over this matchup. But in general, dude, I think Pantoja, he is old, but his chin probably is just going to hold up, dude. Like, it just probably is. So yeah, I don't think Kai Kara-France gets a knockout, but I think we see a pretty JDM-esque performance where he's just able to stuff enough takedowns and get up from takedowns if he were to get taken down. And I think he just pieces Pantoja up on the feet, to be honest. I think it could be kind of close, but even the way that Kakar France goes about striking, he is aggressive. Like, he is a knockout guy, but he is also aggressive. Even when he finished Erceg, in the finishing sequence, he was kind of luring in Erceg by backing up and then all of a sudden just blitzing in. And honestly, I do like that in a fight against Pantoja, where Pantoja will be, he will be getting lured in if Kakar France was to back up. And I think Kakar France could just blitz in and just land some damage, and just win rounds based off of that. A KO could happen, in my opinion, but yeah, I do think Kakar France is the guy who can beat Pantoja. Yeah. And overall, dude, I just really fucking hope these flyweight fights go how I've predicted. Because, dude, I think this division is just so dead at the top of it. But I think it has so much potential. It's, like, quite underrated. Because you have these bland guys at the top, like Pantoja and Royval, who just are boring, dude. Like, especially Pantoja, who literally wins the Erceg fight as a robbery. And he just wins off control time. He wins against Moreno off control time. And against Royval off control time. Yeah, dude. Like, I just really hope that Kakar France just saves this division, to be honest. And we could see a Beneil Cup fight in the future. Something like that. Yeah, dude. He's quite underrated, Kakar France. He quite clearly won against Amir Albazi. The Erceg win, in my opinion, is pretty good. Obviously, Erceg is a guy who I think it could get chinned easier. But also, dude, Kakar France was winning on the feet against Moreno in their fight until the body kick happened. And yeah, that just proves that this guy is able to just win rounds with striking. He's not just a knockout artist, dude. So yeah, I am pretty confident he gets this done, to be honest. But yeah, moving on to the next fight, Ilia Tuporia versus Charles Oliveira. I'm not gonna front, guys. Ilia Tuporia is straight up my favorite fighter in the entire UFC. This guy's just a sick fighter, and I think this is a no-brainer, to be honest. I'm not gonna fence it with this unnecessarily. I just think Tuporia is gonna get this done. Oliveira, obviously, I think you may have heard this so many times, but Oliveira just gets rocked every single time he goes out there, dude. I mean, except for against Armand, but that was just that was just patient Oliveira. But yeah, this guy got rocked against Chandler the first time, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Chandler the second time, and Islam Makhachev, right? And you could say that everyone other than Islam wasn't able to finish him, right? Chandler wasn't able to finish him, Poirier wasn't able to finish him, Gaethje wasn't able to finish him, Chandler wasn't. Bro, Justin Gaethje is a bum, alright? These guys don't have any confidence to actually finish the fights on the ground because they know the threat of Oliveira. And they could just get tangled up going for the finish. But Tuporia has a decent background and he has the confidence. Ilia Tuporia has the confidence to just go for the finish no matter what. Right? Like, I could easily see something like the Islam Makhachev finish where he just drops him and then just goes and just finishes the fight either by sub or just ground and pound. I could easily see that. And dude, I think there's way too many openings for Tuporia to land any sort of shot on Oliveira. Because dude, I think Oliveira is like a more dangerous matchup for Tuporia than a Volkanovski and a Holloway. But I think that's purely based off finishing ability. Oliveira just has better finishing ability than those guys. But at the same time, this guy just throws himself in the fire, and that's what we all love about Charles Oliveira. But this guy just throws himself in the fire, man. When he's landing a lot of his strikes, it is up close in the clinch, where he just doesn't dedicate himself to the high and tight guard anymore. He usually drops it when going for clinch exchanges, and I think that's ripe for a Tuporia overhand. Even when he is going for the clinch knees, he usually just tries to tangle up with his opponent. Tuporia could easily just overhand him in that scenario. Also, at range, when Oliveira is checking kicks, like calf kicks and whatnot, he usually lifts up the knee and high and tight guard. I think Tuporia could just blitz him in that scenario. So yeah, dude, I think there's too many instances where Tuporia could just blitz in and just chin and bid. And in terms of submissions from Oliveira, I think that is the way he finishes the fight. I just trust that Ilia Topuria has knowledge on the ground. This guy was a submission artist before before the Yusuf Zalal fight. This guy submitted Bryce Mitchell as well. I mean, yeah, lighter man skill is going to play a role in this fight. I mean, if you just watch some of those striking performances between Holloway and Volk, dude, there's just a stark difference. I mean, Oliveira is getting pieced up by Justin the Bum Gaethje, and getting rocked by Michael, 37-year-old Chandler. Dude, this is a different level. And I think even if Charles Oliveira goes out there and just is patient, Topuria's just going to walk him down and just put it on him like he did Volk. Yeah, I don't see a world where Oliveira wins this fight, to be honest. And I think Topuria is going to become a double champion and solidify himself as a legend in the game. But yeah, guys, that will do for my predictions for UFC 317. I'm going to be including timestamps in the description for if you want to skip to a certain time. And I will be releasing my recap video to this after. But yeah, dude, that will do it. See ya.